lecture at the Shehu Musa Yadwa Center in Abuja.
Against Satan the accursed. May the peace and blessings of Allah, God, whatever you choose to call him, bless this gathering. May he, the strong one, strengthen us to fight for justice for this country. May he be our guide. May he give us enough sustenance so that we don't waver for anything worldly. Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. I've been asked, not because I'm qualified, to talk about restoring the dignity of every Nigerian. The question to ask, however, is restoring dignity from which stage to which stage? Where were we, and where do we want to return to? We have to also see it within the context of our Chibok girls and girl child education as it affects the Northeast in particular. So we cannot do this unless and until we look at the problem holistically. We should never, ever think of a solution without understanding the cause, because no doctor can give a good diagnosis without knowing the cause. He cannot give a good description without a good diagnosis. The issue of the Northeast, the crisis in the Northeast is multifaceted. There is an ecological problem. That is one. The ecology of the area, the drying up of the Lake Chad. The Lake Chad that used to extend from Central Africa through to Cameroon, Niger, Nigeria, and Chad. A lake that was over 25,000 kilometers big has now shrunk to a mere 1,000 kilometers. So we can begin to think how this ecology has affected the economic activities of that area. And one of which does not go very far to understand is poverty, famine, the loss to grazing, farming, fishing, all economic activities, and the explosion of population. You begin to understand that. And then secondly, there is the irresponsibility of a political and military elite in Nigeria. The irresponsibility of the political elite by cashing in on this poverty. We all know what started Boko Haram. Everybody knows. It was started in Borno by the then Borno governor, Ali Sharif. He is still roaming the streets freely. Yes, when Yusuf was caught alive, who created it? The ECOMOG. Who created the ECOMOG? We have to look at the root cause in order to find a solution. The root cause of that problem, as we know it today, is Ali Sharif. He used them for his own political machinery. He armed them as his political thugs. He even made one of them a commissioner. But they became too powerful. And they had no option but to try an elimination, which was not possible, and which we are all paying for. The military came in, and they cashed in. And they have turned the Northeast into a cash cow. Military jumbo budgets. Unaccounted for. I remember Jonathan was spending 2 billion naira every day on security. But there was no security. Hundreds and thousands of our people were slaughtered. And we also know that the army, more than anything else in Borno and Yobe, have contributed and enforced this so-called terrorism. Terrorism has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It is not only national, but it is international. But let us talk of Nigeria, because that is what concerns me. We know, I have been part of a committee that investigated the atrocities of the Boko Haram. And that committee indicted the military more than anything else. There is no house in Borno that the military has not either killed or raped or plundered. There is no house in Borno. There has been committee after committee set up by the government. And the government has failed to bring these people to book. In fact, this current leadership of the military in Nigeria today are an extension of that one. And this government has failed to even acknowledge the reports of those investigations. We all know today that in this government, papers have been given, investigations have been made into the atrocities and the corruption in the military. We all know today that the Air Force, the papers or the investigation of the Air Force has been made public. That of the Navy has been made public. But that of the Army has been swept under the carpet by this government. Because they are not only sustaining it, they are not only retaining those culprits, but they are still serving in various capacities in this government, as a government that is supposed to be fighting corruption more than any other place, or more than any other thing. Now, with this, we should also look at the irresponsibility of the political elite. The political elite in this country have done nothing but to cash in on this poverty, on this ill education of the mass majority of Nigerians. They use them, they have used you and turned your psyche into slaves, slaves of religious and ethnic manipulations. No one has ever seen the son of a governor even going out to campaign. No one has ever seen the son or the daughter of the president going out to campaign. And no son of even a councillor, not to talk of a senator or a chairman or a governor, that has been abducted or that has been slaughtered on the streets. But the idiots that call themselves the masses allow themselves to be used through religion or ethnicity to divert attention, but to continue to make you into slaves that will be exploited again and again unending. So until you put into your thick heads that you are no slaves to anybody, that the resources of Nigeria is ours, then you will continue to be enslaved. You will be where you are forever, starving. I have never seen the son of the imam being slaughtered or rioting. Neither have I ever seen the son of the pastor. I don't know the difference between a Christian child and a Muslim child. The girl child is the same. We all suffer the brunt of the problems of this society. We were all girl childs at one point or the other. So was our mother and her mother and her mother and mother before her. In every household today, women carry the brunt of the weight of the ills of her household because the men have abducted their responsibilities. It is left to us to keep the children going. It is the same all over. But we are not prepared to look at that reality. We are not prepared to challenge government to give us our rights. Nobody is doing us any favor. It's our country. We have permanent right over our leaders. They come and go. But dead or alive, Nigerians have permanent right over their leaders. And we must always demand those rights. So I'm not here, or nobody should tell me that I'm in opposition. No, I'm not in opposition. I'm seeking my right as a Nigerian. And that is what you should be doing, and that's where your thoughts should be going. Have you gotten what is due to you? Nobody owns the resources of this country. Nobody created that oil. Nobody created the arable land. We were not even consulted when the Europeans amalgamated the North and the South. We were not consulted. But having found ourselves there, there's nothing we can do but to make the best out of it. Have we made the best out of it? The choice is yours. So what are the implications to the girl child? This has more than anything else promoted the preservation and mental poverty or illiteracy on the girl child. This insecurity tends to preserve and sustain the tradition of transgeneral abject poverty and hopelessness from mother to children and to unborn children. And the condemnation of the young and even immature girl into sustainable tradition of early marriage, premature motherhood, lamentable condition further complicated by their health challenges in terms of rapid breeding of VVF, infections, maternal mortality, coupled with abject poverty and illiteracy equals to a permanent catastrophe to their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, we can go on and on. However, the crux of the matter is that we don't have a nation. As it is, we don't have a country. Because the primary responsibility of every government, that which gives legitimacy to any government, is to secure the territorial integrity of that nation and to provide security for lives and property, and to give us an enabling environment to live and to sustain our lives without hindrance, without fear of being kidnapped or being killed or being assassinated. That is the primary responsibility of any government. Any government that fails to do this lacks legitimacy to govern and lacks and should be said to have failed, woefully failed. It is left to Nigerians now to decide, to wake up and say, have I been given what is duly mine? Have you received it? Or are you still parasites? Are you still slaves in your mentalities? You have to be able to think. As for our military, we are demanding a thorough overhaul of this military. Anything short of this is a cahoot. Anything short of this is, to say the least, the government is a beneficiary. The people in government are benefiting. That is why they don't give a hoot that hundreds and thousands of our people are being killed every day. Our kids are being abducted. You have to understand that in Borno alone, between, I think it's, yeah, between 2013 and 2018, 1,400 schoolgirls, 1,400 schools were destroyed by Boko Haram. 1,400 schools. 2,000 teachers were killed. 1,000 school children were abducted between 2013 and 2018. So what is this telling you? All we hear of is Chibok, but they are only a fraction. They are only a fraction. And that is why we must go beyond the struggle for them to be back, the struggle for our country to be in peace. Because we have everything that it takes to develop a country. And the government has everything that it takes to revive the Chad Basin. Yes, it is doable. It has been done in many countries. China had turned desert into forest. So even Saudi Arabia did it. Why can't Nigeria? For so long as you begin to say that it's a northern issue, you all are living in the north. This is north. It's not a northern issue. For so long as you see crime within the prism of tribe or religion, you are part and parcel of the problem. Because you are perpetuating it, you are not looking for solutions. And what does it matter? What does it matter to the victim? Does it make any difference to the victims of Mambila, Benue, or Zamfara, under which government they were killed? The dead is dead. The orphan is orphaned. Does it matter who made it happen or who allowed it to happen? So, ladies and gentlemen, I can't say much because I did not even prepare a paper. You have to forgive me. But we all have a responsibility, not only to ourselves, but to our children. Anybody, I have said, who sits on the fence without saying anything or doing anything is either a coward or a hypocrite, or both. So the choice is yours. I'm not a coward, I'm not a hypocrite. I'm a fighter. Fight along with it. For Chibok girls, we want freedom.